Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. It's time for the second hour, and you can be part of the conversation. We do have our phone number right there on the screen, and you can call in, react to either of the headlines that you would find in either of the front pages. We're going to start off first with our very first paper this morning, and that takes us straight to the Punch. Let's punch you with the front page
Even
today.
though we're not into violence.
No violence, no violence. It's just what the word, identifies, something. Oil production nears 1.7 mbpd, according to NNPC. Talking about the oil production that many Nigerians have indeed been clamoring for, asking why is there still fuel scarcity despite the fact that we are an oil-producing state. But then again, this past week, the man whom many have been looking up to, otherwise the man whom many have said could bring an end to all fuel scarcity, I beg your pardon, will indeed do more, has come out to say that in June, Nigeria would not have any of those issues. We'll talk about that later on, but let's go back to the front pages there. MPC may rise interest rate again on Tuesday. Oh my goodness. Anyway, CBN, SEC fined 9 banks 678 million naira. That's what the fine is. They fined 9 banks. And let's take a look at another one. Federal government may slash 6 trillion naira fuel import. That's another big story. Federal government may actually slash 6 trillion naira fuel import. That's the story. It says 520 billion monthly fuel import expected to drop as Dangote begins supply in June. And that's the story we're talking about. Dangote says there will be no need. There'll be no need. So just take some time out. We'll take a look at the front page there. A sad story in Iran. Helicopter crash. Iranian spray for missing president and minister. And the breaking story, the early hours of this morning was that the president is indeed dead. Quite sad. The president is indeed dead. We're talking about the Iranian president who lost his life in a helicopter crash. It
was very sad.
Very sad. That's President Ibrahim Raisi. He has been confirmed dead. So that's the latest update on that story. 8 manufacturers suffer 627 billion naira forex losses. 8 manufacturers suffer 627 billion naira forex losses. Cocaine seizure. NDLEA declares couple wanted. You can see that couple. I saw their pictures all everywhere on social media. They actually wanted by the NDLEA. You find out that story when you read inside. Of course, it's drugs. It's drugs. That's what they've done. Lastly, my final story. Federal government begins housing construction in 4 states. Housing construction in 4 states. A conversation we're going to have this week, by the way, concerning housing, especially here, not just in Lagos, but in Nigeria and different parts of the country. We've seen how demolitions has taken place. It's like a project demolition in Lagos. We've seen it take place in the southeast, and not forgetting to in the Federal Capital Territory. But that's all we're taking on the front page of the Punch. What other story we're looking at?
All right, heading over to the Daily Independent. The big story is there. Airlines Interior Ministry violating expatriate quota, I beg your pardon, according to NAAPE. Says NCAA lacks robust database for professionals. Aircraft wet leasing not good for local development, says expert. Gunmen kidnap royal father in Akwa Ibom. You know, it's become very embarrassing to see the conversations about kidnapping. These days, it's not even a big deal. It doesn't make big headlines anymore. It just feels like it's become a normal part of our reality. Oh, 20 people were kidnapped. 30 people were kidnapped. How many school children were kidnapped? Royal fathers were kidnapped. It's become very embarrassing. Or do I say less? Okay, it's become embarrassing how very normal. We've accepted kidnapping to become a very day-to-day part of our lives as Nigerians, and we don't need to see an end to insurgency. Page 6, Tinubu appoints infra-core lead developer of Nigeria's Evergreen City. NDLEA declares India-based Nigerian couple wanted nabs 70-year-old grandpa. So, I haven't yet gotten into the full details of that story, but at 70, what exactly are you looking for if at 70? I want to imagine that he was set up and he had no idea. You know, I haven't looked into the details of the story. You know how they're usually the stories of, oh, if somebody wants to send you anything abroad, don't carry you, because some people would search. I mean, I I think the most ridiculous ways people have tried to traffic drugs that I've seen on the internet would be the one who put it inside ceramic plates. And I don't know how they laced it in, but on the surface, it looks like just a plate. But inside, there were drugs. I've seen the one of bathroom slippers. I don't know how they laced it inside the slippers. I've seen the one of yam. Somebody thought they were taking yam into, taking yam. The way you're going abroad and your family members are craving Nigerian food and they're telling you, bring stockfish for me, bring this. They genuinely thought they were taking yam. And for some reason, I don't know why they cut the yam open and the yam was full of drugs. So it's right to be on a safe side, better safe than sorry. Don't accept anything for anybody because nobody's going to hear, oh, it wasn't my own. I think there was a time somebody was going to send something to me and I said to the person, I'm going to make, I was that paranoid. I said, if I'm going to take this, I'm going to make a video of you showing the things that you are giving to me and stating that this is your own and not mine, so that if anything goes wrong. So,
just do a video. Hold on, just do a video. Say these things.
Hello, these things are mine. I want Olive to help me deliver to my family member in London, so that anything goes wrong, that can be evidence. But the truth is, there is no guarantee.
I think, for me, I don't collect at all.
At this point, yes. I try my best not to even send as well. I mean, you can use all the other courier services.
Use the courier services and send.
Yes. So it's just very unfortunate. Even the things of, oh, help me look after my box at the airport. Or I have excess luggage. You don't have a lot of luggage. Can I attach my box to you? No.
Excuse me? No.
Please, don't try it. There's so many ways in which people can be, implicated.
Absolutely.
Anyway. But just to mention that very recently our lawmakers had passed a bill, or they had passed a bill, or are passing a bill to conclude that anyone who's caught trafficking drugs will face the death penalty. But that's something that a number of Nigerians are still debating about. Still on the front page, helicopter carrying Iran's president Raisi crashes, search underway. It's unfortunate what has happened in Iran. There have been reports about what's happening. Of course, we know that the body is being sought, and once the body is found and sent back to Iran, burial would commence almost immediately. We also know that the vice president steps in immediately to become the president, to run the affairs. The question about what happens next is also another question to look at in Iran. If this we know the elections are underway, they're going to have to start planning elections in Iran now that this unfortunate incident has happened. But the question now would be, as the vice president has stepped in to govern the affairs in Iran, is he now going to be allowed to run for office at the next elections? The way it's run in Iran is quite different, where I think they're called the governing council, so have to approve to allow you to be able to run. So one, will he now decide to run in the next elections? Two, will it be approved for him to run at the next elections? I know there's more investigation. Searches are still being conducted. Lots of bodies and peoples and organizations around the world have sent their condolences to the people of Iran in such trying times. And of course, you can, even when you watch their channels, you can see that there's a cloud of mourning over there. Still on the front page, Serap sues Wike governors over failure to account for FAAC allocations. Obi visits victims of Kano mosque attack. At the top of the paper, reconcile aggrieved APC members. Reps Speaker tells Ganduje. And the final story here, Tinubu raises Committee on Green Economic Initiatives, offers Ngelale fresh appointment. President Bola Tinubu has appointed Chief Ajuri Ngelale as Special Presidential Envoy on Climate Action. So I think congratulations are in order for Ajuri Ngelale on his new appointment. We're joined this morning by public affairs analyst Dotun Ojon as we look at some of the stories on the front pages of the newspapers this morning. Good morning, Mr. Ojon. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
You've brought in sunshine into the studio with your bright orange. I love it so
Absolutely.
much.
On a Monday morning.
On a Monday morning.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Anyway, we've gone through some of the headlines already. We started off with the Punch, how federal government may slash 6 trillion naira fuel import. I mean, this is thanks to Dangote, as it's rightly put, right from the weekend. We also looked at the fact that the CBN SEC are finding 9 banks 678 trillion naira. Not forgetting too, and Olive did take some of the big stories there as well. One of it is gunmen kidnapping royal father in Akwa Ibom, and we looked at how it has become the norm in the headlines as well. Let's quickly run through some of the other stories as well from these two papers. Tinubu appoints this big one to Infracore lead developer of Nigeria's Evergreen City. This is a conversation that took place all through yesterday. During Gelale moving his position as well. Used to be the special assistant to the president when it came to, yes, a special advisor, I beg your pardon, when it came to media and, of course, communications as well. And then one big one, Serap again sues Wike governors over failure to account for FAAC allocations, the FAC allocations. No. Let's have you react to either of these stories.
Where should we begin from?
Anyone that you choose. You know.
Okay, let's begin from the very wonderful news. Dangote was in Kigali, and he actually broke the news, so to say, that by June, that Nigeria may actually end importation of fuel. Petrol particularly, and I'm excited about that. But again, my duty here is just to also tell you some little implications and what led to where we are. One of them is that as we speak now, I don't know whether you're aware that Dangote may not have access to the Nigeria crude. He's been trying to import crude. What happens to our own crude? We have actually mortgaged our crude for a very, very long time. That means that if we do not produce above the 1.3 million per day, which is our OPEC quota, we may not have any crude to give Dangote refinery. So the question has always been, has he been able to, because June is just about 4 or 5 months from now, has he been able to source for crude to the point that we will have abundance of fuel as it is? I said it last week that our life as a people is heavily dependent on petrol because everything we do is about petrol, diesel, and all of that. So it's going to be a very great news if this happens. And I don't want to be skeptical this morning, but I just need to point you to the fact that also it may not immediately affect the price of fuel. It has affected the price of diesel. But when you look at our own consumption, our petrol consumption, consuming about 60 million barrels per day is really very huge. The essence of the Dangote refinery is capitalist in nature, and he also wants to make gain. At the end of the year, the shareholders want to see that this is what has been brought to the table. So it may not immediately, it's also located at a free trade zone. The idea of a free trade zone is that it's almost as good as we are also importing, despite the fact that it's within the territory of Nigeria. We are happy, but these are also some of the things that we need to consider as a people.
All right. Yeah. I want us to quickly look at some of the papers because there are some stories I've seen that I like on the other papers. I want us to quickly look at the Vanguard newspaper. On the front page of the Vanguard, manufacturers wail as unsold goods pile up in warehouses. Yeah. As cost of living rises, purchasing power drops. Palm oil producers worst hit. Beer producers emerge best performers. Beer, that's interesting. Experts blame FX volatility, energy crisis, and prefer solutions. Intense search for Iran's President Raisi after helicopter accident. It's interesting the way the Vanguard put accident in quote. Tinubu okays establishment of green industrial zone. Federal government moves to fight inflation through CNG. Edo gubernatorial elections. Labour moves to reconcile Akpata Imasu Agbon. Minimum wage. Why we may not accept 100,000 according to organized labor. So let's start with the cost of living and why manufacturers are wailing as unsold goods pile up in warehouses, what the reality of this is for manufacturers and for the Nigerian economy, because we know the strength of, the SMEs and the businesses and yes, how well they support the economy and how they're like the backbone. No. So if they are complaining that the unsold goods are piling up in the warehouses, what is next? Okay,
let me start with the line of a comedian who says that if anything happens, Nigerians drink to celebrate. If nothing happens, you drink that nothing happens, you understand. That's why you're saying that beer is actually doing well. Every pressure put on the economy may actually be a good fortune on the part of beer. That's on a lighter note. But in reality, is that for this government, they do not have problems with ideas. Fantastic ideas. When you open the pages of newspapers daily, you see that they have fantastic ideas. But again, we must be careful the way we execute some of these ideas. You see, there's this concept in leadership, there's this concept of change management. The idea of change management is that because change really comes to break the chain of habit. So the concept of change management is for you to oil this chain of habit so that in the process of breaking it, you don't get to shock the beneficiary of change to death. Now, what we're having is that ambitious government, fantastic policies, but in the process of execution, no Nigerian may remain to actually enjoy the product of the good we are looking for. And I want to use the word of the president now. We are being suffocated, as it were. So we need to be very, very careful. The purchasing power of an average Nigerian has actually dropped. I've not been to church in a while, and I went there yesterday. The conversation I had with my pastor was heart-wrenching, in the sense that what the entire church is concerned about is actually how to take care of the welfare needs of people. These are people who could come to church before now and even drop offering. They can no longer come to church. So it's a big issue. The living standard of Nigerian people has actually dropped. Our ability to get our basic need is not there. And what are the basic needs? People just want to feed. You see an adult with tie begging for alms, not because he wants to do it. You can tell from his look, you can tell from his behavior that he's actually been pushed towards the end. See, a PRO of an organization called me, and it's a guy that is doing well. Before you can be a PRO, and he said, "Oh, guys, send me something." And I was trying to explain, "Oh, there's not." He said, "No, I just need 2K to buy noodles before my kids come back from school." I broke down. That is the reality. So when you're making policy, you must give the allowance for the people who want to benefit from the policy you are making to actually lead a meaningful life, at least within the process of change. That is what change management is all about. And that's why once you know, when you see a government who doesn't understand the principle of change management, you take tariff or subsidy from the two most important aspects of your people's life. You take it from electricity, you take it from fuel. At the same time, no. Fantastic policies we have, and this SMEs you're talking about now, Nigeria is actually fixated on getting more money, and that's why our interest rate has been jacked up. But the reality is that no community will be able to live with a double-digit interest rate when you know that every nation that we have talked about in this room that has done well economically actually rely on medium and small-scale entrepreneurs. You don't give them light, you are giving them difficulty to borrow, they can't access funds. Now they go on loan app, those ones are sending their pictures to the village that they have refused to pay back. Goods that they have produced is there in
just wasting away.
Just wasting away.
And now let's not link this to
must be very strategic.
Organized labor and their request for an increased minimum wage, because of course people's purchasing power has dropped. You know, whilst we're seeing that the cost of living is rising now, minimum wage is saying, organized labor is saying, why we may not accept 100,000 naira. It's been back and forth. Yeah. 1,600,000. We're going to do 35% increase. It's just been a lot of back and forth. And now, organized labor is saying they may not accept 100,000. Is that a position that they should go with?
In reality, if you look at, if you want to actually calculate the percentage of the increase or the percentage of the decrease in our standard of living, then you see that 100,000 naira can actually not solve any problem. But again, I do not want the organized labor to begin to think like the government people, especially the APC government. The APC government has an MMM mindset. You know, MMM is more money mystery. You understand? I don't want labor to think that once we have more money, that the problem is going to be solved. Because I said it here before, that what we used to buy for 50 naira has become 200 naira. You can hardly, you get to the supermarket now and they say, oh, your change is remaining 50 naira. They begin to look for what matches the price. There's nothing. The basic suit that you can buy for how much, it can't even cover it. So I want labor to be more strategic about what matters. What truly matters at this point in time is for the government to work on the exchange rate. What matters at this point in time is for us not to continue to deplete our foreign reserve. What matters at this point in time is for bank to be willing to give loan to medium and small scale entrepreneurs. What matters at this point in time is for us to have an efficient transport system. What matters at this point in time is for government to deliberately invest in housing. What matters at this point in time is for government to be able to regulate the prices of food. I cited the example of India the other time because when you look at our situation You can easily just call on China because of our population and our belief system, our religiosity, and what we are going through. What India was able to do is to create, what's it called, a price standardization program. So you know that a woman at my backyard will not say that this cup is 200 naira, and another person is saying it's 700.
All right,
if you leave Nigerians, they will do that.
Let's hear from Stephen, who's calling from Lagos. Good morning, Stephen. Thank you for calling. Welcome. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Yes, I totally agree with your statement in the house. Nigeria will just bring one thing and just splash it out without thinking of the measures of what they are putting out there. Dangote refinery. A one man refinery is what the whole federation is talking about. Meanwhile, we have about 4 refineries. No one is talking about it. And they will come to tell us Dangote refinery. Can Dangote refinery take care of Nigerians? How many millions of people in Nigeria? We have crude oil. We take our crude oil to overseas for them to refine and bring petrol back to us. What about other things that they are being refined that we don't even know? Who is accounting for those things? These people who are writing, I don't know. I don't really know the federal government if they are thinking about the common man. Look at what you are getting in the house is talking about. What is it about the housing? The ministries, do the ministry workers, do they have housing that the government takes much more penny from them? Look at the route, the transport system. Do we have a railway that can transport goods and services everywhere? We hear every day people dying of accidents because of what? Road accidents. Now, look at the student loan that they were talking about. What is happening? They should stop telling us one thing. They will just bring one topic and just tell us. They should do something that the common man can benefit from us, from them. Not that they will just come refinery and do this warehouse. They are just telling us, they are bombarding all these things. It's party government these people are running. They are not ready to do anything for the common Nigerian. That is my take this morning. Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you for calling, Steve. We've heard his points. That's his view. That's his opinion. And he's talked about how the country is being run. Yes, absolutely. We are all guilty, and it's an extension of what he said. We're guilty because we must understand that everyone. I keep talking about it that leadership is a product of followership. As it were now, I doubt whether truly we want Nigeria to work. And this is an example I usually give. There was a time I ran for office, and one of the persons that is very close to me came and said, "Oh, we know that you can turn things around. You have an idea to do so." Said it in our local dialect. And on the day of election, when we were voting, I caught her trying to collect money to vote for another person. So when she discovered that I caught her, she ran to me and called me, "My brother, please, so I have 2 cards that I will use this one to collect money. I will now use the other one to go and vote elsewhere for you." So as nature has prepared it, when she left that point, I was also at the other polling unit just to know exactly what was happening there. I saw her again trying to collect money from another person to vote. So I pretended as if I didn't see her. So after the election, I went on holiday. She put a call across to me that, "Oh, I'm having a problem now. Please send me 5,000. I said, "Oh, I calculated the money you got on election days, actually 8,000 naira. That should take you for a while." So the mindset of an average Nigerian is not whether Nigeria will succeed. It's for survivor. I know it is
because there is a hunger problem.
Yes.
Let's quickly hear from Elder David calling from Alimosho. Good morning, Elder David. Thank you for calling. Please go ahead. Doesn't seem we have Elder David here. So,
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma.
All right. Good morning.
Right,
Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. We thank God. We have people who have laid foundation for every good thing. Like what Dotun have said. Those foundations have laid. If Nigeria are patient, between our ending of this year, we shall be grateful to God. Every other thing is talking about whether something is costly or not. Yes, inherit all this problem. It doesn't start today. And it started right from 1999. This will build up to this stage now. And it's not a product of godfatherism. That is the first time since 1999. We don't have godfatherism in government. It's a leader who comes to lead. And it's a champion. It cannot be compared with the past leader from 1999 to 2015.
We thank God that we have a leader. It's a question of patience. Like what manufacturers are talking about, are they not the cost of this product according to this dollars to import raw material and selling at a higher price? When Sembolina are selling for 1,000 something, and they say nobody they buy it is hook up in their store. It's according to men like that because they are not sympathetic. Then when we talk of labor, why is labor demanding for so high distance? Like what you have said, it's not the issue of the amount they carry home. It's a question of reducing the price of the items. A country is rich if the citizens have food to eat. And we should quite remember, there are many problems this man meets on ground. As me and you are talking now, people are being killed somewhere in the north and others, which is even more risky than ordinary somebody who has no food to eat. We should sympathize with those people who are there too. And you see what the ministry are doing now, which have not happened before. The mental service market, service forest. They are doing, and it is money. It is because this government have laid down a policy that is going to wipe out all this thing. Just give this man just only 2 years. But within 1 year now, in 1 year is better than that of PDP from 1999 to 2015. Look at the record. Whether kidnapping, whether you are talking of corruption and all that, it is then when they closed down 34 parastatals, 2004, that could have provided jobs for millions of Nigerian youth. They now classify as whether I call them Yahoo boys and other. And what of those who are pensioners? Before that time, they are not paying them their pension. It was this government that started. God will bless you, Dotun. God will bless every Nigerian. Nigeria will continue to remain as one, and it's better for us. It's question of patience. Let us advise ourselves and pray for this government. It's a man God of our day. We rule to 2031. So it shall be in Jesus' name. Thank you.
David.
Thank you.
On the issue of security, in all fairness, the government has shown consistency in the fight against terror. We only need to understand that a franchise of insecurity has been bought by local criminals. So now when you hear of a kidnap of an Oba in one community, don't think it's Fulani headers that are doing that. Local criminals also have taken advantage of that. So in terms of security, fantastic. It has also shown seriousness in the fight against corruption, that maybe the government can do things differently. But most importantly, one aspect of life that connects everyone together is that of food and living, high cost of living, which I think all policies must be directed at that. If you check the percentage of the people who fly, it's nothing compared to the fact of people who struggle to just eat their 3 square meals. Is it 3 or 2 now?
Right now it's like
in
one.
between.
It's like
So
0.01010.
So let's just give them an opportunity to have that. And once they have that, I think we can build from there.
As quickly as possible, because we're running out of time. Let's look at what's happening in Edo State. Still on the Vanguard newspaper, on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, I saw a headline at the top left, I believe, Edo gubernatorial election. Labour moves to reconcile Akpata and Imasu Agbon. We saw the drama in the Labour Party. Imasu Agbon, of course, took Olumide Akpata to court with him stating that Olumide should not be determined as the valid card-carrying member or the valid gubernatorial candidate of the Labour Party. On the other hand, I remember seeing an interview some while back, a headline that said Kenneth Imasu Agbon had said that it's time for the Edo State people to reward him for his 20 years of service to the state. That's an aside. But how well do you see these quote-unquote moves to reconcile Akpata and Imasu Agbon? How do you see it playing out?
The truth is that one of the greatest jobs I've ever done is to have managed a political party. It's the technicality involved in it and the politicking, as it were, is high level. Now when you see a party like Labour Party and the popularity you see in the 2023 election, there's all possibilities that there are hands from outside of the party that want to destabilize it so that they do not continue to generate that wave that they generated in 2023. But these are the questions. The way some of these political parties are managed, they are managed in a way that shows that the highest bidder eventually gets the ticket, most of them. For instance, how did you get to a point where you can't do a credible primary? It's the exact same thing that happened in APC in Ondo State. as it is now, Jimoh Ibrahim has taken the sitting governor to court. So it's always an internal problem of the party. And because court after court has said, even to the Supreme Court, that internal party affairs is within the party, usually that they are not concerned about it. So the rascality, most of the time, that is displayed by party leadership always denies them an opportunity to come to election with one vote, which is what we have seen in Labour Party. Labour Party, with the credibility their 2023 candidate, presidential candidate, give to the party, shouldn't be having a thing like this. But the attitude of Nigeria, I'm coming back to this because it's very important. The attitude of Nigeria is the same. Whether you are in PDP, you are in APC, or you are in Labour Party, which is what they are. I do not see anything coming out of here in the reconciliation. I do not see anything coming out of it, because usually if you want to, there are two things that are known with Nigerian politicians: pride and optimism. If you see a politician who cannot even win 2 votes, he will tell you he will win the election. And that's why you hardly see all those, what we call small political parties, come together to have somebody as their candidate to actually race it out with those big political parties. Why? Because this one thinks he can win, this one thinks he can win, this one thinks he can win. Upon all I did when I was running for office, I had just about 1,000 votes. Getting votes in Nigeria in the election process that is so monetized is actually a lot of work. So the conversation will happen, but I still see that the court case will be pressed further. All
right. Well, time here is well spent. Thank you so much, Dr. Ojon, for joining us. It's always nice to have you on a Monday morning, especially starting off not on a happy weekend note, but on a happy weekday.
We can't wait to have you on a Friday.
Happy weekend.
Yeah.